Africa Day, observed annually, is to commemorate the founding of the Organization of African Unity (OAU), which was created on the 25th of May 1963, a precursor of the African Union. Africa Day provides an opportunity to celebrate the socio-economic achievements of the continent and the cultural adversity of the continent. The end of World War II saw the efforts of Africans over the process of decolonization of the African continent for more political rights and independence from colonial rule. Hence, between 1945 and 1965, a significant number of African countries gained independence from European colonial powers, with Ghana becoming the first African country and the south of the Sahara gaining its independence on March 6, 1957, under the leadership of Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana's independence therein served as an inspiration to other African countries fighting against colonial rule, playing a central role in this objective. A year after its independence, Ghana convened the first Conference of Independent African States on April 15, 1958. African countries in attendance included Ethiopia, Libya, Sudan, Liberia, Egypt, Tunisia, and Morocco, amongst others, with representatives of the National Liberation Front of Algeria and Union of Cameroonians. The conference was a collective platform to assert Africa's rejection of colonial and imperialist domination of the continent, becoming the first Pan-African Liberation Conference to be held on the continent, bringing together various African countries. Further, at the meeting, the first African Freedom Day was celebrated, which is now later recognized as African Day. 5 years later, on May 25, 1963, following the conference held in Ghana, the Organization of African Unity (OAU) was formed in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, hosted by Emperor of Ethiopia Haile Selassie. The OAU was formed in a meeting seating over 30 African nations with the aim to influence the decolonization of African countries, including Angola, South Africa, Mozambique, and Southern Rhodesia. The organization covenanted to support freedom fighters and remove military access to colonial nations, and a charter was established to improve the livelihood of member states across Africa. The first Conference of Independent African States convened on April 15, 1958 in Ghana, and further encouraged and stamped a shared African identity of unity and fighting against colonialism. The conference further called for the observance of African Freedom Day once a year to mark the onward progress of the liberation movement and to symbolize the determination of the people of Africa to free themselves from foreign domination and exploitation. April 15th was therein enacted as African Freedom Day or African Liberation Day, and countries all over the continent celebrate and mark the commemoration each year, with South Africa celebrating its Freedom Day on April 27th of each year. The formation of the Organization of African Unity on May 25th, 1963 marked the beginning of what is now known as Africa Day. The formation of OAU, Organization of African Unity, on May 25th, 1963 marked the beginning of what is now known as African Day. This year's celebration explores the educational perspective with the theme Education Fits for All. The chairperson of the African Union Commission, H.E. Moussa Faki Mahamat, in his address applauded the diversification, enrichment, and development of intellectual, scientific, and cultural resources of Africa.
Its intellectual, scientific, and cultural resources have been immensely developed, diversified, and enriched. Its economy has grown at rates envied by many parts of the world. Its resilience during the global COVID-19 crisis impressed many. Tribute to Africa CDC, which made a major contribution to our successful continental response.
He added that the Organization of African Unity (OAU) was born out of the pain of struggles. Hence, Africa must be resolute and courageous to become what our founding fathers has always wanted, a powerful lever for unity, liberation, integration, and the defense of African dignity.
Africa Day, which we are celebrating today, is certainly, as I often say, an opportune moment for reflection, certainly to assess how far we have come, but also to reflect on the road ahead. I would like to take this opportunity to address not only governments and official institutions, but also the youth and the women of Africa.
This year's theme reflects a clarion call to all stakeholders within the African society to join in creating an education system that not only meets the demands of the 21st century, but also ensures that every African child has the opportunity to thrive. Tosin Toluwaloju, reporting for BTV News.